Hello again, college football fans. Coming at you Monday, November 1st, 2021. And I'm a day late from my usual timing. Usually I come at you on Sundays with these review videos. But yesterday morning, my brother-in-law called me up, said he's putting the boat out in the water. It was too beautiful of a day for me to pass that up. And then when, we were out there for 4 or 5 hours at least. And then get home, and it's pretty much time to get ready and watch the Braves lose in Game 5 of the World Series. But hey, watching them lose in the World Series is a lot cooler than watching them win in July. But on to college football, which is what we're all here to talk about. First of all, Georgia fans, that's me eating crow again. Obviously, I'm trying to make a name for myself in this channel, picking on the dogs this year because they're everybody's sacred cow, especially in the national media. But it was a good win. It's like I said. I think I said in one of these videos, or maybe it was one of the comments when I was talking to somebody. By the way, anybody that subscribed and made comments or watches, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And obviously, I will take any advice that you can give me because I'm doing this. It's fun for me, but ultimately, I want it to be something that is something for everybody, something to either get information or entertainment or whatever. So any suggestions or comments anybody has, feel free to send those in. And thanks again if you are watching. But back to Georgia. I've said it before, and I'll say it again unequivocally. They are, as far as defenses go, that defense is top notch. It doesn't get much better. It doesn't get any better than that defense. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Gary Danielson said at the end of that game Saturday that it reminded him of 2011, and I can definitely see comparisons of that 2011 Alabama defense. Courtney Upshaw, Hightower, Dre Kirkpatrick, just killers all over the field for that defense, and that's the way this Georgia defense is. That the guy in the middle, Jordan Davis. Incredible. I mean, he's as good a nose tackle as it gets in the SEC or the NFL or anywhere for that matter. So, Georgia deserves all of the praise that they're getting, but, and you knew there was a but coming, I'm still not convinced about that offense. And I mean, if we're talking about an all-time great team that's going to win a national championship game, then they're going to have better play offensively. And if you want to win a national championship, it's not going to be with Stetson Bennett. And I think that the Georgia fan base knows that, and I think that Kirby Smart knows that, and I think that that's why we haven't seen JT. I think they're playing a little bit of a sandbag game with him, which is smart. I would do the same thing. You got to keep teams, especially if you're going to have to try to beat a Nick Saban coached Alabama team for a championship, you have got to use everything that you have in the cupboard. And if keeping Alabama on its toes and off balance by waiting until, they may wait till the SEC championship game to bring him in. I wouldn't advise that. I would give him a little bit of time, get him back in the saddle, get him used to playing a full football game before I threw him in. But, if that's his strategy, I get it. I understand where he's coming from. Kirby Smart, that is. But back to that Florida-Georgia game. Florida obviously was a terrible pick on my part, trying to be, trying to have some vibrato again, and like I said, make a name for myself. But that strategy's obviously not working out. Although trolling and trash talking the fan bases of teams that I pick against that are big favorites actually, I think, has been doing me a good job of getting a little bit of attention, if for nothing else, so that people can come back and gloat when I'm wrong. So, if that strategy continues to work, I'll continue to do it. But Florida, I alluded to it earlier in the season. That's a complete disaster of a season at this point. I mean, who would have ever thought that Dan Mullen would ever have a 4-loss season at Florida? I mean, he barely lost more than that at Mississippi State. So this has been a big shocker to me, what's happened at Florida. They had the recipe going. They had the whole nation's attention. It was 3-0 with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left, I believe, in the first half. And I remember as they were driving, I remember thinking to myself, even if they give up a touchdown here and go down 10-0, that's not going to be that big of a deal for Florida. They're still going to be in a way better position than anybody would have thought that they would be at halftime. And I thought, if they can keep them to a field goal, then that's even better. I would feel like that would be a win for Florida if they could have kept them to a field goal there. And then they get an interception. And initially you think, oh, now that's incredible. But then I saw him go out of bounds at the 3. And I thought to myself, I don't know. I think I might would have rather just given up a touchdown and then got the kickoff back, because then at least you've got options to get out of the half, which is all Mullen wanted to do at that point. If he has any sense at all he wanted to do was get a first down, get them out of the half, go into the halftime down 3-0, and then you got a game on your hands, and anything can happen at that point. But backed up in your own territory, deep, right, with the shadow of your own goalpost behind you, that's not a good place to be at against an all-time great defense like this. And I thought, this might work out pretty poorly for Florida, but I had no idea that it could work out that catastrophically. But that happens with defenses that good. Believe me, I'm an Alabama fan. I've seen a defense just completely change a team's outlook in a couple of minutes, and it can go from a tight game to an absolute whitewash in no time. And that's what happened. But like I said, Georgia had a chance to impress me with their offense, and they were not able to do that. Everybody already knew what a monster their defense was. Florida is a bigger disaster than anybody could have imagined, and we were already starting to get a pretty good clue of what was going on. But I don't know what's going on down there in Gainesville, but it better change quick, and it better change dramatically, or we'll I'm not going to say Dan Mullen's on the hot seat down there yet, but he will be going into next year, which I guess means he already is. So Dan Mullen's on the hot seat. He's not going to lose his job this year, but one more season like this, obviously he's out of there. So that's something to watch, and a very surprising development in Gainesville. But, Georgia did impress me, or something that happened this week impressed me about Georgia, and it happened in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Auburn. Wow, we've got to talk about those Auburn Tigers. They look like a legitimate SEC powerhouse. The defense, the offense, everything played well. I felt like, and I said it, going into this week, that Matt Corral was the type of quarterback that, if it's his day, he's not going to be denied. Well, I don't know if it was his day or not, but he was denied by that Auburn offense. Ole Miss had several chances there in that second half to tighten that game up and lessen the Auburn lead, and they could not do it. They were just stonewalled over and over again. And early in the game, watching Auburn, Alabama, I wish Alabama had this kind of running game. I wish Alabama had as good a running game as Auburn does, and or at least that they had yesterday, because they were running. And I know Ole Miss has got a weak defense, especially against a running game. But Auburn was running at will. They were gashing them at will. They could do anything they wanted to. And then Bo Nix went in and cleaned up the mess and got touchdowns. And that wound up being all she wrote. 20 points. Holding Ole Miss to 20 points is no small feat. And I was very impressed by Auburn, and I'm more and more impressed by them each week. And that leads to a monumentally huge matchup next week with Texas A&M and College Station, and obviously we'll be talking more about that later. But right now, I've just got to gush about the Auburn Tigers, and you can see it setting up. You can see, Alabama's got a one game regular season now, as far as I'm concerned. No disrespect to LSU or Arkansas, but if Alabama loses to LSU or Arkansas at home this year, then nothing makes sense anymore, and there's no sense in me even doing this. So, but going to Jordan-Hare against that Auburn club terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies me right now. I know Georgia whitewashed them, but that's a different time of year, different situation, different styles of team, and it's not the Iron Bowl. Let's face it. I know that the South's oldest rivalry has had some crazy moments in the past, but Auburn has always hung their hat on being able to beat Alabama no matter how good Alabama is. And that's just who they are. That's part of their DNA. And everybody in this state knows that. So, yeah, that is shaping up to be a classic-looking Iron Bowl. And that's my favorite game of the year, obviously, for a lot of reasons. But I'll be discussing that more and more as we get closer to that. Got a lot of things to say about the Iron Bowl. You can bet your life on that. Moving on to the rest of this week, though, those are actually the games that I got wrong in my picks. The other two games I did pretty well. Especially, I'm proud of that UK Mississippi State upset call. I thought it would be a closer game, much closer. 28-24, wound up being 31-17. But like I said, that Mississippi State defense is a little bit underrated. Maybe not moving forward here, but I knew that Kentucky was overrated. I mean, we've seen this game with Kentucky before. They rack up an impressive-looking record until about the end of October, and then things unravel because they don't have enough resources allocated to the football side of their sports program to be able to keep up with the rest of the SEC schools. It's just, and you'll see why coming up in the basketball season. You just can't have a juggernaut, perennial juggernaut in both the schools in the SEC. I mean, Alabama, we're in a pretty good position in our basketball program right now. Florida obviously was able to win national championships at both programs at the same time. Very rare feat. That was very impressive when they were doing that with Urban Meyer and Billy Donovan. But, just saying too much to say that Kentucky has done about as good this year as they can do. And we've seen this happen to them a lot. Seems like they always have a softer slate early in the season. They managed to pull off an upset against a team that seems like an upset at the time, but, in retrospect, wasn't much of an upset like Florida. But anyway, so I wasn't surprised to see Mississippi State win. I was surprised to see them dominate the way that they did. But, Mike Leach continues his up and down tour, much the way I predicted. And the last one was an easy one. It was that Missouri-Vanderbilt game. I picked a 31-21 Missouri victory, wound up being 37-28, so that was probably as close as I got to hitting an actual score yesterday. Vanderbilt, they are what they are. Vandy, gonna Vandy, like I've said before. Nationally, I didn't pick an upset. I said to keep an eye out for the Oklahoma game. They look like they're definitely, at least yesterday, they look like, for the first time this year, a legit college football playoff team. And but looking at their schedule, they have got a brutal last 3 games of their season. And obviously, we're going to continue paying attention to them. The other game was the Cincinnati-Tulane game, which actually did turn out to be close. Tulane did play them much closer than I think anyone could have imagined. And, Notre Dame won, so they're still in it. There's a lot of teams. I think that it's wide open now in a sense that there's still several Big Ten teams that are vying. Wake Forest is still undefeated, which is amazing to me. But, wide open is a word that was used earlier in the season. I felt like they were kind of jumping the gun on that. But it's looking like now that it really is. I mean, there's still a chance that it could wind up being, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. And then everybody says, with all that for nothing. But there's plenty of scenarios that are still alive out there for teams like Wake Forest, the Texas A&M, Auburn with 2 losses. Those teams, in my opinion, are still in the college football playoff hunt, and I'll explain why in later videos. And those will be coming up very soon. And thanks again for watching.